questions, but it's kind of piggybacking off of what you were just saying. Matt, you mentioned doing color to help alter the style or alter the mood, the atmosphere of the art. Now, up to this point, most of your work has been black and white, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, Super Spy was my first color book.
Okay.
But everything after that's color now.
And how do you approach that difference between what's black and white and what's color?
Yeah, it's always, every black and white book I did was because that was the budget. You know, there's no budget for color.
It was cheaper?
Yeah,
Okay.
and when I was doing Super Spy, I was doing that online, and I was like, well, if it's online, I'm just going to do color, and it's the same cost to do color online as black and white. And then when Top Shelf saw that as it was coming out, they're like, oh, we got to do this book in color. I was like, that's great. I had no expectations of them doing it in color, so that was in color. Now, yeah, so the Dark Horse book I'm doing, it's just watercolor and painted. And, because of the strength of that Super Spy book, then it's made it easier to do color after that.
And Brian, what about you doing? A lot of your work for hire has been color, but
it's been 50-50, and I try not to think about it. If I'm working on a color book, I still try to make a strong image I'll hold up in black and white. I should say. I still feel like I'm learning the trade, but I try to make an image I'll hold up in black and white. If you draw a strong image, it's color won't ruin it,
right?
Or shouldn't ruin it.
Hopefully
not. Really bad colors, yeah. But yeah, I don't change my approach too much. I'm actually, the next project I'm working on with Cullen is a color book, and there's right now it looks like I might be doing the color myself. Now that's different. I might actually, because I have control over what the color is going to be, I might make adjustments to the art to allow for that. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. All right. Going to open it up now. We've got a few minutes left for questions. If anybody has any questions in the audience, feel free to. You'll probably have to stand up because we got bright lights in our eyes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, like earlier, you guys were talking about the whole perception of comic books as being something for kids. It kind of plays off of that. Just because the whole Japanese invasion and all that stuff. I more often hear that, Western art is complete crap and that Western comic books offer nothing to enjoy. What would you say to someone who has that kind of a viewpoint?
That's like a pure manga fan and is like,
yeah,
American comics suck, manga is awesome.
There are a lot of crappy American comics, but there's also a lot of crappy manga too. I think there's some really bad manga, but I don't know. I think.
Well, no, I think that's a very good point. That
it's like any medium. I think there's definitely stuff of value. I honestly, between all of us, maybe Cullen is an exception, but I really don't read that many comic books. I have maybe a handful I pick up on a regular basis. But I read comic books. I approach comic books the same way I approach movies and novels and any other sort of artistic medium. I pick up what I like, but it's not the only thing I like. And that's probably what I would tell people. I'd say there's some good stuff, but yeah, you're right, there's a lot of crap. Stop reading the crappy stuff.
Yeah, I think more crap out there than good stuff.
They're always there. There always will be. Same with movies, television, anything.
I think one of the things that you can do when those people say this is Western comics are crap is you can show them some things that you like or things that I try to introduce them. If you think it's crap, that's fine, but give Super Spy a shot. Give books that I thought were really good. Hand them over and let them read those and see if they can get into it and see what they think. Show them Scott Pilgrim. If they're a diehard manga fan, show them Scott Pilgrim, for instance, and try to get them into that as a Western comic.
Well, and the other thing to remember too is since we're getting those from Japan, we're getting their best stuff.
That's correct.
We're not getting all the crap. Japan puts out a lot of comics, and we get the ones that are good. And we don't always see, well...
We start off getting the tip of the iceberg, and we're just slowly getting more and more.
Getting a lot of it because it's so popular.
Yeah. Right, well that's true. Other questions?
What would you say are the pros to doing collaboration versus the pros to doing a piece of work by yourself?
All right, so going back to the collaboration issue, those of you that
probably speak to this the best, since he's one who's done both.
So I would just say, pros and cons. The pro is there if you're careful. Like, you need to know who you're working with. Like, I never would have worked with Cullen in a million years unless I had known him first. And I'd seen him work with, like, I saw him work with, yeah, and I saw him work with Brian for a couple of years before I even thought about, oh, maybe we could do something together. So I'd almost treat it like you're getting ready to be married to this person. And you just want to know everything there is to know about them, you know, the good and the bad, and how they're going to react under stressful situations. And also understand what your role is. Are you just going to be the illustrator of their story if you're the artist, or are you going to be, as the writer, are you just giving them an outline and the artist is going to go crazy? Have all that set up ahead of time. And if you do that, then it's awesome, because then there's two brains working together and you're going to come up with something you wouldn't get by yourself.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you're working by yourself, you might come up with something wonderful, but it's a pure expression of what you know, of yourself and what you're doing. If you work with somebody else, you're going to come up with something that neither of you thought you might achieve. It's going to come up with something complete, like Matt and I've done a couple of little pieces together where Matt will pencil out ink, and it'll look nothing like Matt's drawings, it'll look nothing like my drawings, but it's very interesting at the same time. It's not what either of us would have expected. And same with stories. You know, if you have a good collaborator, you could, like, it might not be the script Cullen, like we talked about the concept, it might not be the script Cullen turned in, it might not be the idea of what I want it to be, but it ends up being something maybe even better.
Yeah, better. Absolutely. I will say, from a breaking in standpoint, if you can write and draw, you know, your own and create something, I think you kind of have an advantage in some ways, because it's very. Again, I got lucky getting in there because knowing Brian and being able to pitch directly to the publisher. But a lot of publishers, for writers especially, you know, for an artist can bring a portfolio and say, here's samples of my work, look at my artwork, and you can look at it in just a few seconds, get an idea, get a feel for the artist. If you're a writer, though, it's a lot more difficult to say, here's my script. No publisher's going to, you know, most publishers aren't going to take your script and read it. But if you could show them a comic that you've done either to a small publisher, self-published, and it's a complete comic that you've both written and drawn, you can show them that, and it gives a showcase of everything you've done. I think that gives you an advantage. Because a writer trying to break in, it's hard to find an artist.
It's almost impossible for writers to break in unless you have an artist to break in with, or you know somebody. A lot of writers break in because they know other writers who recommend them, or other writers who sort of mentor them, that sort of thing. It's very, very difficult for writers to break in.
I've said it before many times. When you go to conventions and you try to track down an artist to work with, it is one of the most humiliating experiences that you can possibly have, because you walk up to artists and you say, they're all smiles because they think you're going to buy something, and you say, well, I'm a writer and I have an idea. Their eyes go down, and they're kind of, you know, they just, I mean, it's really, really humiliating for.
And then if you do find a good artist in the bunch, half the time it's around to be flaky.
Shit, it's not flaky.
The stars have to align.